Welcome back. So now we're going to continue with our essay writing, our study of essay writing. And today what we're going to do is we're going to be now looking at how to structure your main body paragraphs. And I'm going to show you exactly the steps to structuring a main body paragraph. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually write one together. Okay, so in terms of your steps, in terms of the main body paragraph steps, they are as follows. Excuse me. Now, it might seem like that is a lot of steps, and you might be thinking that's too many steps to remember or too many steps to, understand. But what you should know, okay, is that the main body paragraph, in terms of the steps, it's actually sort of doing the same thing twice, basically. Okay, if you notice, besides the beginning, okay, where you give the location, which is just beginning, middle, or end, from here to here, this, okay, and this is essentially the same thing. So in your main body paragraph, and you should be writing this down, yeah, you should be writing down the steps. In your main body paragraph, what you're trying to achieve, okay, what you're trying to achieve by writing your main body paragraph is you're trying to make a point, okay, about the text that relates to the question that is backed up by evidence. Okay, that's essentially what a paragraph, what a paragraph is. Okay, that's what a paragraph does, basically. It makes a certain point or points about the text that is backed up, and when making those points, it backs those points up with a reference to the text, which is what we call a quote. And then it analyzes those quotes in order to sort of back up the point that's being made. So when you're writing your paragraphs, just keep that in mind. What you're doing is you're making points about the text. Yeah, you're answering the question. You're making certain points that answer the question on the text. Okay, now what we're going to do is let's go through each of these steps sort of one at a time. Let me explain them to you. And then after that, what we'll do is we'll actually go ahead and we'll write one paragraph together. Okay, so to begin, what you're going to do is you're going to start by giving the location. Now, what this means is you're giving the location of what you're going to be speaking about. Now, the good thing for us is we've already sort of we already know what we're going to put in here, because remember when we did our essay plan? Do you remember how we gave the location for each of the paragraphs? So the reason we did that is because it sets us up very nicely to begin the paragraph. So all you're going to do is just match up the beginning of the paragraph to the part of your essay plan. So you're going to say, for example, in your first paragraph, in the beginning of the text, second paragraph in the middle of the text, last paragraph at the end of the text. So give the location. Then what you do, okay, is you're going to go ahead and you're going to quote the question and mention the topic of the paragraph. Okay, so you're going to say, at the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion, and then we expand that. Okay, so there's my quoting the question, powerful emotion. Remember, this is the question that we've been working on. Choose a text that has a powerful emotion. So I quote that at the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion, and then because we know what we're going to be speaking about, yeah, now we know that we're speaking about the emotion of sadness, the powerful emotion of sadness. And remember, we established this. If you are lost at any point, just go back and watch the lessons from before and you'll understand. So we have the emotion of sadness. So at the beginning of the text, we see the emotion, the powerful emotion of sadness. And then we mention the topic of the paragraph. And again, this is the beautiful thing about the essay plan. It literally tells us exactly what we're going to write. So we just mention the topic. So at the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion of sadness when the speaker describes entering the hospital, topic of the paragraph. Now all you do is you just say what happens and you see how it flows. You see how it flows very nicely. When the speaker enters the hospital, it just describes sort of what happens. The speaker enters the hospital, he describes the way that the hospital looks and how it looks sickly or disgusting. And he also describes the things that he sees that remind him of death. And all I'm doing here, okay, is I'm just describing sort of what happens in this scene. Yeah, I'm just describing what basically is going on at this moment. And I'm setting myself up for the quotes. Okay, that's all you're doing. You're just setting yourself up for the quotes, giving some context. So again, at the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion of sadness when the speaker describes entering the hospital. We see how the speaker describes the way the hospital looks, how it makes him feel sick, and how he sees things which remind him of death. Now we're ready for the quote, okay, and we set the quote up just by saying the writer says. We say the writer says, and again we go back to our plan and we take our first quote, green and yellow corridors. The writer says green and yellow corridors. And then we go ahead and we analyze based on our technique. Again, in our plan, that was word choice. Remember here? Word choice. Yeah. Look, everything's from the plan. Yeah. So the writer says green and yellow corridors. The writer uses word choice. Okay, and now here I would do my word choice steps. The word green or the word yellow relates to something disgusting, relates to filth. This suggests that the walls make the writer or the speaker feel sick. They look filthy to him. They remind him of illness. Okay, and then all I do, okay, that's the basic word choice, is now I just connect it back to the topic. Excuse me. So I do my basic word choice that this suggests, okay, and then I connect it back to the topic in which I just say this shows, okay, and I connect it to the topic which is sadness. This shows how the text features the emotion of sadness in that the speaker feels saddened by seeing the illness and seeing the uncleanliness or lack of cleanliness and the sickly smell or smelling the sickly smell which is around him as he enters the hospital. These things sadden him as they remind him that his loved one, the patient, is also unwell, and this is the living conditions that they have been living in, and so on and so on and so on. You get the point, yeah. You just basically connect it to the main topic, the main question. Okay, so again, just to remind you, at the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion of sadness when the speaker enters the hospital. The speaker describes their experience of seeing what the hospital looks like, and they describe seeing things that remind them of death. The writer says green and yellow corridors. The writer uses word choice. The word, you can pick either one, green or yellow. Yellow relates to something off-colored, sickly, disgusting. This suggests the hospital smells and looks disgusting, off-colored, reminds the speaker of illness. This shows the emotion of sadness is featured in the text as the speaker is saddened by what he sees and what he smells when he enters the hospital, as it reminds him that his own loved one, the patient, is unwell, is sick, is having to endure these conditions, is having to endure the horrible nature of their illness. and so on until you finish. And then what you do, okay, is you just repeat that process again. You don't have to go back to the beginning, just repeat this, the writer says, and then technique analysis. With your second quote, the writer also says, and our second quote was corpse, remember? What seems a corpse? The writer also says, what seems a corpse? Okay, the writer also says, what seems a corpse? And then I go ahead and I analyze it with technique, connect it to the paragraph. Okay, and then the last thing you do is you just connect all of this together. This shows that this shows the text. This shows the text features the powerful emotion of sadness because that's it. Okay, so that is the sort of overall, and that was my sort of verbal explanation. What I'll do now, okay, is we'll very quickly write a paragraph together. So this will be your example paragraph. And you can use this as sort of like a guide for yourself when you're going ahead and writing paragraphs for your own essay. And I recommend, in terms of your practice, create a plan with a focus and a question. Then write an intro, write a bunch of intros until you've got it, until you feel like you understand how to do it. Then go ahead and write an example paragraph, okay? Write one, and then write as many as you can until you feel like you've got the format and the structure. Just keep it simple to begin with, okay? You don't need to use fancy language and all that to begin with. And then once you've got it, then you can start adding detail and more fancy, complicated language using different sort of, rhetorical sort of different ways of speaking and different little fancy things. But at the beginning, just keep it really simple. Just follow the steps, follow the process. And then after that, once you've got it, once you understand the structure, then you can make things sort of more complicated. Okay, so let's go ahead and write a paragraph together. So we'll do these three first. Begin, location, quote the question, and context summary. Okay, so location, at the beginning of the text, quote the question, we see the powerful emotion of sadness. There's my focus. Yeah. If you don't want to say we, you can just say the beginning of the text demonstrates the powerful emotion of sadness. Okay. At the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion of sadness. And then we give the topic of the paragraph, sadness, when the speaker describes entering the hospital. There's the topic of the sentence. Now I give my context. The speaker describes how the walls of the hospital make them feel sick, how they feel sick, and how they see reminders of death, and how they see reminders of death. Okay, and I can even add in here a little reference to the question. That's always a good thing. And how all of these things create a sense of sadness within them. Okay, so there's my context. I just basically said what happened. Yeah, what happens at the beginning. All right, and again, it doesn't need to be fancy. Yeah, please don't worry about making it fancy. Just the beginning, just think about the structure. Even if your context is a sentence long, just think about the structure. Once you get the structure, you can add everything else on top of that. Now we go ahead and we do our quotes. The writer says, okay, the writer says, and I quote, green and yellow corridors. Okay, there's my quote. Here we go. And then I say, the writer, here's the technique. The writer uses word choice. Again, just very simple. The word, okay, the word yellow, and now we're just doing word choice, relates to. If this was sentence structure, right now I'd be doing the sentence structure steps. If it was imagery, I'd be doing the imagery steps. If it was tone, I'd be doing the tone steps. Okay, so the word yellow relates to something being off-colored, being old, being sickly, and being disgusting. Yeah, you can give 2, you can give 3 connotations, you can give 5, it's up to you. The word yellow relates to something being off-colored, being old, being sickly, being disgusting. And again, don't worry about spelling or any of that stuff, it's not important. I know I spelled colored wrong, it's not important. It relates to something being off. Remember, this is just practice, yeah. What you need to practice is the structure. The structure is the key. Understand the structure and the steps, memorize that. Everything else will come after, okay? Relates to something being off-colored, being old, being sickly, being disgusting. Now we do our finish off our basic word choice. This suggests the hospital walls look off-colored and disgusting to the speaker. Okay, basic word choice complete. Now we do the connection to the top. Now we do the connection to the topic and the question. This shows, and again, this is a very good way of organizing. You can do this suggests for the basic meaning. This shows for the connection back. This shows the emotion, okay, of sadness as the speaker is. And again, don't worry about it being complicated or saying things in a complicated way. We just keep it basic to begin with. Is saddened by what he sees as it reminds him that his loved one is living in these conditions and that they have to endure these conditions and their illness and have no way of escaping them. Okay? Sad. Yeah, sad. And again, this is just kind of very sort of simple, very simple. If I wanted to, I could go way more complicated and you could go way more complicated also, but we're not worried about that right now. All we're thinking about right now is just the basic steps, okay? Basic steps. Now you can see we're at about the halfway point and you can see already, look at the words, yeah, look at the size of the paragraph. Already it's 140 words almost, okay? So 140 words, and all I did was just follow the very basic, simple steps. Okay, so we continue. And again, just to tell you, we've reached this point. Yeah, we've reached this point here. So we continue now with our second quote. Okay, and the writer also says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this to its own page so you can see the full thing once we're finished. Okay, so I'm going to the next step now, which is the writer also says, and again, real simple, put the quote in, what seems a corpse, okay, I'll do ... because there's more to the sentence. What seems a corpse, all right, and in fact, you know, I'll just put a full stop here. Okay, I'll put put a comma after. Okay, again, don't worry about the grammar yet. Don't worry about the grammar, any of that. It's not important. It's not important right now. It's not important at all. Think about the structure. When you're doing this, only think about the structure and think about the text. Don't think about the spelling, the grammar, your fancy language, none of that. Just think about the structure, the basics, the text, okay? Analysis, basic word choice skills. Think about those things. The writer also says what seems a corpse, okay? Using word choice to describe what he sees. And all I'm doing here is I'm just making the thing fit. But again, it doesn't matter. Even if I just put a full stop here, okay? And then I said the writer uses word choice. If I do it that way again, that's fine, okay? Remember, focus just on the structure, just on the structure. Okay, what seems a corpse? Using word choice to describe what he sees. Now, what I'm going to do is, again, basic word choice, the word corpse. Here we go. the word corpse relates to death, dead body, dying, and passed away. Okay, and again, this is just basic word choice. This suggests the speaker sees a dead body. Excuse me. Okay, and then I'll just say a person who used to be alive, but has now passed away. All I did was I just used two of my connotations. And again, if you're not sure about this, go watch the word choice lesson in the RUAE section, but has now passed away. Okay, and now again, all you do is you connect it to the topic. Yeah, just connect it to the topic, the question. Okay, connect to the topic. Again, just use this shows. This shows the text, and again, you can use the same sort of language, that's fine. This shows the text, features the powerful emotion of sadness as the speaker becomes, and again, I'm just basically saying the same thing. I'm just going to use a slightly different word just to make it a little bit varied. But even if you use saddened again, that's fine. Just again, please listen to what I'm saying in terms of the key way that you are going to get better at essay writing is if you understand the structure, and if you memorize the structure, if you get good at the structure, the steps, then everything else flows on top. Okay, so the speaker becomes depressed. Okay, depressed, and I'll just say depressed. We'll keep it simple. Speaker becomes depressed after seeing someone who has recently passed away. The speaker becomes depressed after seeing someone who has recently passed away because it reminds them that their loved one will also soon pass away, and there is nothing they can do. There is nothing they can do to stop that from happening. Okay, connected to the topic. Yeah, connected to the topic. And now all we do, finish off with another final, very explicit reference to the question. This, you can say demonstrates. Yeah, maybe I'll just say that so you have a clear sort of distinction. This demonstrates the text features the powerful emotion of sadness because it shows how the speaker is saddened by what he sees when he first enters the hospital. And again, look, it might sound quite basic. It might sound like it's not the most sort of complicated. It might sound like it's not the most sort of complicated sort of language. Okay, and again, I'm doing that for a reason. I'm doing that just because I want you to focus on the structure. I don't want you to get confused about the language. Excuse me. But now look, the main thing to notice is look how long the paragraph is. Look, I can't even show you it in one go. Look how much I have to zoom out just to show you the entire paragraph. Okay, look at that. That is from following those steps and just very basically answering or filling out each of them. That is a 262 word paragraph. Now, if you have 3 of those, yeah, let's just do that quick sum. So 262 times 3, that is 786 words. And then if our introduction, we'll just see how long our introduction was. Our introduction was 72 words. So 786 plus 72 is 858. And then if our conclusion is going to be another maybe 50 to 100 words, That means we have a 900-word essay just from that. Yeah, just from following these very basic, very simple steps. It gives us a 900-word essay. Now, just before we finish, I'm just going to read this paragraph out to you just so you can hear how good it sounds. And again, please, when you're listening to this and you're doing this for yourself, just think about all of this comes from the simple structure. Understand the structure and everything else falls into place. Okay, at the beginning of the text, we see, read this along with me. At the beginning of the text, we see the powerful emotion of sadness when the speaker describes entering the hospital. The speaker describes how the walls of the hospital make them feel sick and how they see reminders of death and how all of these things create a sense of sadness within them. The writer says green and yellow corridors. The writer uses word choice. The word yellow relates to something being off-colored, being old, being sickly, and being disgusting. This suggests the hospital walls look off-colored and disgusting to the speaker. This shows the emotion of sadness, as the speaker is saddened by what he sees, as it reminds him that his loved one is living in these conditions and that they have to endure these conditions and their illness and have no way of escaping them. The writer also says what seems a corpse, using word choice to describe what he sees. The word corpse relates to death, dead body, dying, and passed away. This suggests the speaker sees a dead body, a person who used to be alive but has now passed away. This shows the text features the powerful emotion of sadness as the speaker becomes depressed after seeing someone who has recently passed away, because it reminds them that their loved one will also pass away soon and there's nothing they can do to stop that from happening. This demonstrates the text features the powerful emotion of sadness because it shows how the speaker is saddened by what he sees when he first enters the hospital. Very, very clear, very, very logical, very focused, directed at the question. All of this coming from just very, very simply answering or filling out each of these lines. So now what you need to do, okay, is you need to go ahead and do the same thing for your own text. Start by taking a question. So have a look in the practice questions at the end of this essay section. Pick a question, okay, choose a focus, make an essay plan, write an introduction, write a bunch of introductions, and then go ahead and write a bunch of main paragraphs using these steps. And do it until you feel like you've memorized the steps. Yeah, use the steps, look at the steps, and write your paragraph at the same time. And do that until you feel like you've memorized the steps and you don't need to look at them anymore. And then once you've done that, then move on to the conclusion video, where we are almost going to be finished with our essay writing. And yes, then we'll write a complete essay together. And that will be the last sort of section on our critical essay exam. And by that point, you should have essay writing sort of worked out. Okay, very good.